Okay, so I went by today. I picked up this Bauer 2000 PSI electric pressure washer. So we're going to open this up, take a quick look at it. I'm not going to spend too long on this. It's a pressure washer and it's electric. So everybody knows what that is. I had went by, looked at some other ones that seemed to be very similar. I really like this one because the hose is wound up on a spool, so it makes it nice and convenient. My wife just got her a new car, and rather than getting the big heavy gas powered out and then having her have to crank it up, have problems, I thought this would be a perfect option. Lightweight, it's not super powerful, 2000 PSI, so it's more than some of the little smaller 1700 PSI electric models. The only thing that I really wish that it would have had, while looking over the specs, is that a lot of the other ones come with a turbo nozzle included. This one doesn't really have a turbo nozzle included. It's simple enough to put together here, and I'm going to get this all apart. Looks like all we got to do is stick the wheels on, tighten up the hose, and we'll be good to go and actually spray some stuff and see just how well this performs. The one thing that I did notice is that you cannot roll the hose up with it connected. So you got to disconnect the hose. The hose connects down here, but then you unhook it and unroll it. Once you start rolling it up, it has to be hooked. So that would have been nice if you was able to roll this hose up without having to disconnect it down here. Good, like I said, I really liked the fact, because usually with some of the bigger ones, especially with the big heavy duty hoses, those were always heavy, carrying them around. So we don't have to worry about that with this. The whole unit is under 40 pounds. So it's gonna be lightweight. Got some real big tires, easy to roll around. We got our soap, 0, 25, and 40 degree nozzle. Like I said, the only thing that's really missing is it would have been nice had it had a turbo nozzle, but it doesn't. I've got one of those coming. It'll be here probably tomorrow or the next day. I haven't finished with this video. We'll see how well that works on it. So I went ahead and sped this up, but it only took a couple of minutes to put this whole thing together. There's about 4 screws. The little plastic inserts that the screws go into, just be aware that you can't tighten them up super tight, because they're not long enough and it'll pull in. You can see it on the other side, but it's not really a big deal. So I've got this all put together, and I'm going to go out, and I've got a couple of different things that I'm going to spray, and we'll see how it goes from there. But all in all, 4 or 5 minutes with a screwdriver is all you need to put this thing together. Okay, so here we are. You can kind of see the little spots up here where I over tighten those screws a little bit, but it is what it is. It's plastic, it's cheap. So so we got this hose. Alright, so yeah, I definitely want to try to figure out something on that. That's kind of crap, but I like the fact that it's got the reel. So this hose, it's real easy to kink. So it's not the big stick hose like on your big pressure washers, but again, this isn't a real big pressure washer. I've put the 25 nozzle on. I'm gonna spray down this deck. It's in pretty bad shape. I've done some concrete repairs, so I've got concrete residue and stuff on here. So I'm gonna spray that down, see how well it does just as a pressure washer. Then I will add soap, use the soap nozzle, soap it down, and then come back and see if it does any better. So right now, since it's brand new, I have never turned it on yet. I've got to turn the water, open up the valve on the handle, get it primed, get water coming out, then turn the electricity off. Okay, so what I can see so far is that this textured concrete has always held dirt pretty good, and as I'm spraying, this is actually getting the dirt out of the texture pretty well. A spot like this is usually pretty hard right by the door. So see, the machine shuts itself off with the pressure switch, and it's fairly quiet. It's removing the dirt really well, but it is a very narrow beam. I'm going to try the 40, but it doesn't seem like it's going to have the pressure, because it seems like it's barely getting it done with this, because you have to get close. The wider the beam, the less pressure you're going to have, but the wider area. So typically with like your 3,000 psi ones, I could have a wider area. I can clean at once. So this is definitely doing really good. It's just you have to get close, and so it's going to take a little longer over the big one, but it's a lot less hassle. You don't have to worry about the fuel getting stuck in the carburetor. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more and put some soap in and see what happens. Okay, so wet always looks cleaner, but you can still see some of the dirt stains. Slab is way better than what it was. Still not perfect. So let's add some soap into here. We'll put on the so that's just not a screw on, just a push on top there. All right. Almost looks like my tank's not sitting level. Maybe, I didn't think the deck was that sloped, but maybe it is. That came off. Put that on there. Change this out for the soap tip. And all right, let's see what the soap does. Okay, so we soaped up this area here. You can see how much I poured into the tank. Not quite, but almost all of it's gone. So now I'm going to put on the 40-degree tip. So far, the only thing I really find that I do not like is this hose is so flimsy. It's not like your big heavy duty washers, which is good because it's super lightweight. There's not a whole lot of fatigue here. But when I was cutting, or when I was spraying, this thing kinked super easy. And then because the hose was on the roll, it was all twisted up, so I had to go back and untwist it. So I got my turbo nozzle in. As you can see with the turbo nozzle, definitely these pavers on the driveway, again, it's a very porous surface, so they just let that dirt get ground into them, and I spray it off. I've got one of those as seen on TV pressure water hose nozzles, but even spraying that down, it just doesn't get this out. So the video is kind of hard to tell with this turbo nozzle. Really makes a difference. So this is the end of it. I had filmed me going through, and I did about a 3-foot wide strip straight down the middle of my driveway. It's about 25 foot long. You know, the hose barely reached to the end. But if you want to watch it in real time, it took about 10 minutes to do a 3-foot wide, 25 foot long strip through the middle of here. So my final impression, I have ran this little machine probably 3 or 4 hours straight. I did some sidewalk. I did another little paver area I had. The machine, just like most any product that Harbor Freight sells, it works great for the purpose. This is not a commercial grade machine. I have used the big, 4,000 PSI with, huge motors. They're always heavy, hard to load in and out of the truck. The hoses are real stiff. They actually have so much pressure that they kind of kick back, and you almost have to hold them with 2 hands, some of those big ones I've used. And very much at the end of the day, you're just whooped from pressure washing because you're fighting that heavy, real stiff hose. This machine works great if you're just doing small decks, driveways, just homeowner a couple times a year. It's electric, so you don't have to worry about any kind of maintenance as far as with the gasoline motor. The hose, super lightweight, super flexible, so you're not fighting the hose. I found that with the 15-degree nozzle, you can get into the dirt, but you have to get kind of close. So that means that you're cleaning a smaller area at a time. So that makes the job go a little bit longer than if you had the big heavy duty one. You could back up and get twice as wide of a pass and get the same cleanness. So, if you were going to do this professionally, let's go ahead and get the big one. But just for a regular homeowner, washing your car, doing your driveway or around your pool, a couple times a year maybe, I think this is a great product. Like I said earlier, I did find that the hose kind of kinked a little bit because when it comes off the reel, it's got that memory, but I've had this thing out for about 3 days now, pressure wash and all kinds of stuff, and I probably have done more than 3 or 4 hours. I've actually, I've pulled that trigger and let it run for half an hour to an hour without even letting up on it. So the motor seems to be just as good now as it did in the beginning. I do think that if you're going to really want to get some grime out, get one of those little turbo nozzles, which is only $20. Makes a great improvement because it is, a lower power, but the turbo nozzles actually kind of boost that by spinning around. They just rotate and gives it, just the mechanism of the oscillation seems to make them clean a lot better, no matter if you're using a big one or a little one like this. So definitely recommend it. There's nothing I've seen yet. I would just be sure to roll that hose out, untwist it, get all the kinks out of it, all the twist out of it, because if there's a twist in it, when you start pulling it, instead of pulling the twist out of it, just kink it over. And like I said, that's the only negative. I'm still going to probably figure out a way to maybe put a hook or something on that reel and hook the hose in the center where I can roll up the hose all at once and still leave it connected. If not, it's got the little clip on the edge to put the end of the hoses on. So probably just unconnect the one end off of the pressure washer and leave the other end hooked to the spray nozzle, wind it up with the spray nozzle hooked up, and then I just don't like having that one end open, even though it's got a screen. But if you're storing this in a garage or someplace like that, you got a chance of bugs getting up in there. Dirt and stuff just seems to go in those little holes, and I can see that as a potential problem later. That's why I like to keep that hose hooked up, so then you wouldn't have that issue. But as you see me up here, I'm in real time with the turbo nozzle. The deck looks great, driveway looks great, so don't know what else I can say about this, but I found a coupon and got this for $159. The cheapest gas-powered pressure washer is $250. Craigslist, they're 150 used, and half of them don't have good hoses and stuff. I seen that they do have parts. If the hose being the weak link, sorry about that, that I can really see, because where I did on that very first day, pulled it without realizing it because it was behind me, and it pulled a kink. There's still kind of you can see it in the hose. So I don't know if that's made a weak spot or something. It hasn't affected performance or anything since, but if it does end up messing up, Harbor Freight is now starting to carry the replacement parts, and I've seen a new hose for this thing's only like $20, 27, something like that. But if I do have to replace the hose, I don't know, I would think it would be nice because that reel is so big, it could take 100-foot hose probably on here, no problem. But I don't know if I would buy maybe a 50-foot hose, give me a little bit more reach. But then, if I could find a hose like this one here that's so lightweight, because this thing is so lightweight, so flexible, there was really no resistance, no fighting and fatigue with it. So go out and get you one if you're thinking about it, unless you're looking at spraying down the oil rig, or using this thing every day for commercial. Then I would get the proper tool for the job. But if you're just a typical homeowner, use this thing a couple times a year, for spring cleaning or something, 100% recommend it.